Okay, so we've now got the measurement from the last video. There it is, of what the camera to the plane is. So we're going to do something with it. So first thing we want to do is select the camera. Brilliant. So there's the camera, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look through it. So I'm going to click on panels, and in my case it's now changed its name to camera shape 2. So I click on that and I can now see through the camera. What I want to do first of all is just render a frame out so that I've got a bit of a sort of frame of reference, and as you can see, what I've got in the background so far looks pretty crummy, which upsets me a great deal. So what I need to do is set about putting that right. Now there are a few reasons for this. One of the reasons is that I've got shadows on that light that I added, which I'll turn off in a minute. But what I want to get going first is this blur effect. So as you can see, everything's in sharp focus. So I'll just hide the render view for a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my attribute editor, remembering that I've still got my camera selected. And if you scroll down, you'll see a depth of field section needs to be opened. There it is. And then you can just put a tick in that box to turn depth of field on. Now at this stage, if you were to render it without telling it what the focus distance is, it would all go blurry. So we'll just give that a sec. There you go. It's like trying to look at a plane but you're a little bit drunk. So we need to get that under control. So in my focus distance, I'm going to input this number. So 30.341 I think will be enough detail for that. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is render again, and you'll see that the plane pretty much stays in focus, but the background is now in much softer focus. So that's much, much better. The only thing is, most of the plane's in focus, but this kind of tail section is a little bit out of focus. Now if that's the effect that you're going for, that's absolutely fine, but I want to get more of the plane in focus. So to do that, I'm just going to turn my focus region scale up to about 3. So it means within that distance of 30, it's going to focus basically from 27 to 33, which will be much nicer. So I'll render again. Give it a sec. And now the plane's in focus. The background, whilst it's not as out of focus as it was, is still out of focus, which is lovely. What I want to do now is just get the background a little more out of focus. So I'm going to turn my f-stop down. I'll go to about 4 on that. Render again. Drop it a bit further. Let's go for 3. A lot of this is trial and error. You have to just keep going with it until you're happy. And I'm quite happy with that. My background's nice and out of focus. My plane is in focus. So I've got a real nice feeling of depth of field. So this camera angle is now looking really, really nice. If I wanted to try and get a really cool image, if I tried to get one where the glow of the sun was in the background and render that, I should get something that looks quite pretty, hopefully. Yeah, so that's quite nice. So the only major problem with this now is, well, that I'm having, you might not be having this issue, is the fact that the light I'm using has got shadows turned on. So I'm just going to put that right. So I'm going to go to Window, Outliner, I'm going to click on my point light that I created earlier, and then I'm looking for the shadows section, and I just need to turn these shadows off. Render again just to get a better feel of what I should be looking at. There you go. So that's quite a nice shot. I'm fairly happy with how this is coming together. Okay, so at this stage I'm pretty happy. What I'm going to do next in the next video is we will have a look at how we set this up for a nice render, and then we'll get it batch rendering. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video for that. Okay, here we go. So it's time to set about making these rendered images look really cool, and then getting a batch render done so we've got a really sexy looking animation. Yes. Okay, so job number 1. Into the render settings window. Right. Under the common tab, we need to change a few things. Image format, I never ever use the Maya riff format. There's nothing wrong with the format itself, it's just that external applications don't play with it very well. So I'm a fan of the Targa. I also need to make sure my frame and animation extension is set to. Now, if you're using my file for this, by default it's wrong. I Don't know why, but it's not the one you want. You want name.number.extension, and that means that you can import it into external applications and it'll work really well. Okay. Start and end frame can be whatever you want. I would always recommend just doing a test render of 10 frames first, but when you're happy with it, you can render the lot. So I'm going to do 720. And the first camera I'm going to render is I'll do camera 1, which is that one that was static. And then for my preset, I'm going to render it out at a resolution of HD 720. You can go higher if you're feeling courageous and adventurous, and you've got plenty of time, but this is going to take quite a while to render and I want to get it finished. So 720 is fine for me. Okay, into the Maya software. Quality, we're going to go for at least production quality. Turn ray tracing on. Now I've not got any lights that are casting shadows. I don't really need them for this. But if you have, then shadows will look nicer. You could add a second light to represent the sun or something like that. But it's more things like your reflections on the glass will work when you've got your ray tracing on. The other thing that you need to look at, now for me I know that it's turned on by default, but it might not be for you. Make sure you've got a tick in the box for motion blur. The main reason that you want motion blur in this project is your propeller. Otherwise you'll be able to see that they just stay sort of really kind of in focus, which we don't want. We want it to look like they're moving really quickly. So turn the motion blur on, put 3D blur on, and then leave the rest of the settings. They should be fine for what we're doing. Okay, and you can leave everything else alone. So we'll close that for now, and then we'll do a test render of 1 frame, just to see that we're happy with the resolution and the overall quality. So you can see this here is what I meant by the motion blur. You can see that it looks like it's moving fast. Yeah, so I'm really happy with how that's coming out. I think that's really nice. So what I'll do now is I'll actually check the camera that I want to render, which is this one. So again, I'll choose a shot where it kind of goes past the sun. Where is that one? Oh wow. Okay, so I'll just do a quick test render of this one. Can't even see it, but I'm sure it'll look lovely when it's rendered out as an animation. Okay, so what we can do now is actually let this batch render. So I always, just to be safe, make sure that the camera I'm looking through is the one I want to render before I do a batch render. I've also in my render settings set it to be camera 1 that I'm going to render. And then I can change my animation set to rendering. And then all you need to do is click on render, batch render, and it will start then rendering your 720 frames into the images folder of the project. So I'll just let this get started and show you where it's putting them. It shows you the overall percentage of each frame, so it's going to go through this process 720 times in my case. So off it goes. I'll just show you now where it's putting these images. So if I have a look in my motion paths project file, in the images folder, you can see that these images are now being created. Okay, so you need to do this for your first camera. You then need to go through the process again for the second camera, and it'll put those probably in a separate folder, probably, or you might just need to put these in a folder first just to keep them safe. And then once you've done that, that's the exercise finished. So all I will show you in the next video is how to preview this animation in FCheck. If you want to turn it into video, then you can either run it through an editing program such as Adobe Premiere, or you can render it out to video. And if you look through my earlier videos, I have got a video there that explains how you can render to AVI if you want that. Okay, so I'll just see you in the next video for how to preview your animation, and then we'll be done. Hooray! Okay, so now I've got a few frames done. I've not let it do all 720 because I just don't have time in my life to let things finish. I want to show you how you'll preview your completed animation of one of the camera angles. So, yeah, you need to find an application. So in my case, I'll just search for it. Oof, assuming it's going to let me. There we go. So it's called F-check. And then you need to open that up. And this is a utility that comes with Maya that allows you to just check any animations that you produce. So what you need to do is just go to File, Open Animation, and then you're going to find your folder. You're going to look in the Images folder, and you just need to click on Frame 1, and the application will do the rest. So there you go. You can see that is now starting to show me the render of that animation. So it's just going to show me the first 30 something frames which I've got done. But if I let this do all 720, it would obviously show me all of that. Okay, so that kind of brings this little motion path animation exercise to an end. If you saw video 1, then you will have seen what the finished article looks like, or you can follow the link below to see what the finished animation looks like as well. If you do complete this animation, then get it rendered out, upload it to YouTube, and then share it on the Facebook page. I'm always happy to see the work that people have done based on any tutorials that I put together. If this particular tutorial has been of use to you, then be a hero, go through and click on the thumbs up for each of the steps. It encourages me to put more of these together. It makes sure that other people can find them as well. And absolutely you should be subscribing to the channel as well for more of these sort of things. Okay, thanks for sticking through to the last video. It's been emotional. I feel like we've bonded, and I look forward to you listening to me in future